Welcome to the Fall 2020 Ladies Big Book Study Recording Series. My name is Kimberly and I am a recovered alcoholic. I am the facilitator of a tri-weekly Big Book Study for ladies only, and we record each session so we can share the knowledge along with you. What we do is we read the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous line by line. We pause on each page and have discussion time to share our experience, our strength, and our hope on each page. You are more than welcome to follow along in this series and do the work of the steps of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you do need support at any time, please reach out to me in the Contact Us area of my YouTube channel, and we're happy to provide you with support. The online recordings are open to men and women. Do not be discouraged, gentlemen. Our ladies' point of view may offer you a different perspective. So welcome. I hope you enjoy. Here we go. All right, ladies, we're continuing on in the chapter Working with Others. We are on page 100. Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. That's a beautiful chapter or paragraph. Absolutely beautiful. I have it underlined and highlighted in pink because, prior to my putting myself in God's hands, I was 2 years in this fellowship and I was just hanging on by the seat of my pants, filling a chair, taking up space at meetings. I wasn't contributing. I wasn't doing any of the work, and I had not turned my life and my will over to God. And I'm telling you right now, my experiences is that when I put myself in God's hands, the most amazing things have happened to me. It says that, if we keep him close and do his work well, he will provide everything we need. He doesn't provide the bare necessities. He gives us a wonderful, plentiful life, full of love and fellowship, and free from worries. And I mean, if you're here and you've turned your will over to God and you're like, well, it's gotten better, Kim, but I don't know about this wonderfulness. I urge you just to take that step further into his will. Take that one more step into the pool, like go from the shallow end to the deep end and really get into his love and really carry this message and live and breathe God's love, because that's when things started to happen for me. I had my feet in the shallow end and I was kind of, splashing around like a toddler. But once I got in the deep end and I really got my hair wet, and went underwater a little bit, and took those risks, amazing things happened. And it doesn't matter your present circumstances. I went through this course of action the weeks after my husband died, leaving my children without a father. Those were probably the lowest points in my life, and I was able to come out unscathed. I came out better than I had entered those 2 weeks. So, when we follow the dictates of a higher power, and that's just love, compassion, kindness, tolerance, and just walk that walk, and it's amazing. When working with a man and his family, you should take care not to participate in their quarrels. You may spoil your chance of being helpful if you do, but urge upon a man's family that he has been a very sick person and should be treated accordingly. You should warn against arousing resentment or jealousy. You should point out that his defects of character are not going to disappear overnight. Show them that he has entered upon a period of growth. Ask them to remember when they are impatient the blessed fact of his sobriety. So one of the amazing things that was said to me by a spiritual guru that I know was, she says, I did the best with what I had when I had it. you know, and that's kind of what I've transferred into my life and with my children. It's like, you know what? I did the best I could with what I had. And now I'm here to do better. And it's a process. And I'm in a learning process. You know, I started drinking and using drugs when I was 16. And they say that that stunts your maturity. So I was like a 15 or 16-year-old mentally in a 40-year-old body. You know, I was looking at my fellows going, how did they handle these situations? And I'm not able to. It's a progress. We have to keep trying and perfecting and learning from our mistakes and having the humility to take advice and take that leadership role that we're given from our sponsor to like call us on our shit sometimes. Sometimes I've got my blinders on. You know, we still can suffer from delusion even when we're in this fellowship. And I see it all the time, and people mask things, and it's just, okay, that's a little delusional. Can we try to look at it from another angle? And I need that sometimes. I still have situations where I'm like, somebody says, have you tried looking at it from this point of view? And I'm like, oh, I still can have my blinders on. And so, you know, it's a process, and we do the best with what we have when we have it, with the whole hope of being better the next day. You know, this is a program of growth. We don't all of a sudden get perfect. I haven't met a perfect person yet. So, you know, there's still hope, but haven't met them yet. If you have been successful in solving your own domestic problems, and tell the newcomer's family how that was accomplished. In this way, you can set them on the right track without becoming critical of them. The story of how you and your wife settled your difficulties is worth any amount of criticism. Assuming we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things alcoholics are not supposed to do. People have said we must not go where liquor is served. We must not have it in our homes. We must shun friends who drink. We must avoid moving pictures which show drinking scenes. We must not go to bars. Our friends must hide their bottles if we go to their houses. We mustn't think or be reminded about alcohol at all. Our experience shows that this is not necessarily so. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There is something the matter with his spiritual status. His only chance for sobriety would be to go someplace like the Greenland ice cap. Even there, an Eskimo might turn up with a bottle of scotch and ruin everything. Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on the theory he would escape the alcohol problem. I have this. I can go where any free man goes. I maintain my spiritual condition. I have a daily reprieve, and I am able to walk anywhere. During Gay Pride, we go to the bars in Vancouver with my sober girlfriends, and we dance, and we drink water and Red Bull, and we have a great time. I've gone to weddings where friends from my past lives have gotten married, and they are drinking and getting a little bit intoxicated, and I'm able to sit there. I go to birthday parties for friends who drink. I have had alcohol in my home. I do not keep alcohol in my home. I have no reason to. My older daughter will bring wine over for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I'm not afraid of that. I have my daily reprieve. I have immunity from alcoholism through working with others, and I am protected by my higher power. I do remember the first time I ever went dancing at Celebrities downtown Vancouver during Pride after the fireworks. I was 2 years sober, and I went with a group of people, and it was that moment where we stood outside and we thought, oh, it'd be really fun to go in and go dancing. And we did a quick group conscience where we looked at everyone in the circle who was there and kind of went, yeah, I think we're okay. Let's go inside. And we went inside and we danced and we had a great time. I will tell you that some things are no longer attractive. When I go to that birthday party for that one girlfriend, there comes a point in the night where I'm like, it's time for me to go. You know, dinner starts at 7. By 9 o'clock, they're doing shots and they're getting messy, and it's not appealing to me anymore. and I've made my appearance. I've wished my girlfriend a happy birthday, and I bid adieu. I'm like, I've got to go. It's been so great for me to come out. They're like, oh, aren't you going to come to the bar? And I don't say, no, you're trashed. I don't want to come with you. I just said, no, I'm tired. It's time for me to go. It was so great to see you. Have a happy birthday. And I leave. Similar to at my girlfriend's wedding. You know, I could tell they had gotten into the dry goods. Their jaws were clenching, and it was just not attractive. And the thought that goes through my head is, oh, did I used to look like that? Yeah, I did. And so I've participated in what I've meant to be there for, and then it's time for me to go. Marianne.
Hi, everyone. I'm an alcoholic from Toronto. My name's Marianne. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober. I have a kind of a funny story. Well, it's funny now, but it was a busy Christmas Eve, and we were short one gift card, and I had to. My husband was working, and we needed a gift card from the liquor store, and I said, "Okay, I'll go get it." He goes, "Oh, I don't like that. I don't like to send you up there." And I said, "No, no, it's okay. You know, I feel good. That's fine." And so I go up, and the liquor store that had a lineup around the corner. So I didn't bother. I actually went into Shoppers and got a different type of gift card. I said, I'm not waiting in line for that. That would have drove me nuts a little over 2 years ago. And anyway, when I came home, my son, who helped me so much when I was sobering up, said, "Where'd you go?" And I said, "Oh, I just had to go to the liquor store." And he kind of looked at me. I said, "No, no, no, just to get a gift card." But something like this now I can laugh at, but it was not a funny thing like just over 2 years ago. So I'm so grateful to this program for giving me that freedom, for not having to be afraid of being around alcohol, because I live with a lot of people that like to drink, and you know, I'm saving a seat for one of my sons, but I still want to be with them, and I don't want people to feel that they can't do what they want to do. It's a tough thing. So I'm just so glad that I have people like you that I can share this with and understand that this is an illness you can get through, because a lot of people out there don't understand that I can still live my life and not be sheltered from a bottle. So I'm grateful to be here and nice to see everybody.
Nice to see you too. Yeah, my oldest daughter, had requested the Bailey's gift set for Christmas, and so I had to pop into the Safeway liquor store. And the thoughts that went through my head. So the first thought was, God, it stinks in here. It was just disgusting. It's that repulsiveness where we're like, oh, this is gross. And then I thought, because they had the Air Miles now, you can get Air Miles with the same. And I was like, geez Louise, I got ripped off. There was never Air Miles back when I was drinking. I'm due like 2 million Air Miles or something for all the booze I used to drink. But it was funny, Summer and I were driving Christmas Eve. The lineup to the liquor store, because of the pandemic, is out the door, around the corner, and down the block. And you know, my thought was, those aren't alcoholics. An alcoholic couldn't wait in that line for 30 minutes to get their liquor. I would have gone up the street to somewhere else. Like, there is no way I would have had the patience to stand in a line for 30 minutes. I'm like, those are normal people. Normal people can wait in line for 30 minutes for their bottle of wine or their Christmas cheer. I was like, there was no way in hell I could have waited in a line. I said, I'm so lucky not to be an active alcoholic during a pandemic, because that would suck. Anne Marie.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie. I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I noticed the smell as well. I went to a family reunion, and I got there late because I'd been at the helpline, and it was the Italian side of the family. And I got there, and there had to have been 24 bottles on the table. Some of them open, most of them open, some of them not yet. And the woman who did the cooking put wine in everything that she cooked. So I wasn't able to eat anything but the salad to begin with. But after an hour or so, I had to excuse myself and leave the dining room because I couldn't stand the smell. And I ended up leaving early strictly for that reason. People say, "Oh, you can't be leaving now. It's too early. Are you okay? Did we do something?" I said, "No, I just don't like the smell. The smell." And then one evening, I was with my two younger brothers and my younger sister. Well, I don't have an older sister, but anyway, for dinner at my brother's place, and they got into the wine. My sister doesn't drink; she can stretch a shot of scotch over 3 evenings. But my brothers started getting sloppy. All the old jokes that they've been saying for 30 years, and all the old arguments that they've been chewing on for the same amount of time. And I was just sitting there looking at them and going, God, I used to be part of that. I used to participate in that. And I excused myself and I left, because you're right. It's not fun. There's no reason to hang out and watch this. On the other hand, I don't allow wine or booze in my own home. I don't want the smell of it. And I don't want anyone getting drunk in my home. So I draw the line there. People can come over for dinner, but they've got to know it's going to be a dry dinner. That's it. Thanks. And happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. Yeah, I'm always so astounded when my daughter comes over for Christmas or Thanksgiving and she brings a bottle of wine and she dumps half the glass down the sink. And I'm like, really? Like, you are not like me. Jenny D.
Hi. Thank you, Kimberly. Jenny, alcoholic. Happy holidays, everybody. And I went to the people that live upstairs from me are not alcoholic. They're normal, lovely people, and they have kind of adopted me. So I spent Christmas with them. A few days before Christmas, we, myself and Sabrina, she went Christmas shopping. I went with her. And she said to me, I have to do one more thing, but you can't come with me. And I, honest to God, thought, oh, she's buying me a present. Isn't that lovely? But she was going to the liquor store to get a bottle of wine. And a non-alcoholic who knows I'm sober, who knows I'm alcoholic sober, really thought if I went in that liquor store with her, it could set me off. Okay, and I thought, isn't that interesting? I said, no, I'm good. Come on, I can show you the best wine, which is a lie. I could have showed her the cheapest wine with the highest alcohol content, but because I don't forget that stuff. And then at the Christmas dinner, again, okay, 6 adults and me, there was 7 of us. 6 were drinking wine. It does not bother me at all. 1 bottle of wine, 6 people. That was the most amazing thing to see. 6 people, 1 bottle of wine. But for me, just like what Kimberly said, I have the step 10 promises in my life. And it said, if we are ever tempted, we recoil from alcohol as if like a hot flame. I have not even been tempted for many years, but, and I don't intend to. I do remember seeing a TV commercial once for Mike's Hard Lemonade. And they didn't have that kind of stuff when I drank fancy ass drinks in cans. And I remember looking at it going, oh, that sounds good. I wonder if I tried some, if it would actually be drinking, just because it sounds so interesting. You know, and then sanity returns and goes, yeah, Jen, that's drinking. Stop it. So, but no, when I'm in good spiritual condition, I do not think about drinking. I can go anywhere. And nowadays, even if I'm not in the greatest of spiritual condition, I still don't think about drinking. But what I do is I have this wonderful program that helps me get back into that condition. That's it.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Oh, I'm muted. Della.
For some reason, I can't find raise my hand. So weird. It's gone. Good morning, ladies. Della, recovering alcoholic. So you guys are kind of validating what I was feeling. yes, I don't want to be around it. I need a good reason to be at a function, but I can still feel like if I'm still spiritually fit, and when I'm starting to feel icky, like I'm not comfortable, then that's okay to just say no and leave the situation, right? Because I thought, oh, like, am I being selfish? Should I just stick around? But no, if I am spiritually fit and I want, you know, to be at the function to celebrate that person, but when I feel icky, that's okay to just say no.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
I have my old girlfriends group, and we went to having Saturday or Sunday brunch. So instead I was like, I wasn't at the beginning ready to go out with them at nighttime. I didn't trust myself. And so I would meet them Saturdays or Sundays once a month, and we would have a girls brunch, and slowly some of them tapered away because we have nothing in common anymore. They would
Right.
talk about drunk escapades. They would talk about, all the guys they had, like, just not attractive things,
Yeah.
things that we don't have in common anymore. And the other girlfriends, we kept it going. And it ended up, it dwindled and dwindled to the point where it was just myself and a girlfriend named Sarah. And then after 2 times of her having lunch with me, she said, "When did you know?" And then now, guess what? She's in the fellowship. So,
Right.
but it wasn't that I was like, you know what? I'm not going to hang out with you people anymore. It was just like, I'm just not comfortable hanging out with you at night at this point because of my sobriety. And then, one of the girlfriends, I went to her birthday party on the 13th of March, and I stayed till 9 o'clock, and they acted so trashy. I was just like, it's time for me to go. And I'm like,
Okay.
but I don't say it in any way like, oh, yeah, you guys are loaded, I don't want to be here. I'm just like, it's time for me to go. Thanks for inviting me. I love you so much. Bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that really helps. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
absolutely. Beverly.
Hi, everybody. Beverly Alcoholic. Hi, Kim. Hey, sometimes when I'm talking to newcomers, especially, this time of year, I'm talking about women that are really, really new and raw, okay? And they need to go to a family function, or they want to go over here with their friends. What do you say to the really fragile newcomer in your experience? What have you done?
If you're a newcomer and you have no spiritual fitness as of yet, I would not be tempting to go anywhere.
I agree.
Not at all. No. I knew someone who was borderline spiritually fit. And they took some of their newcomers who were less than a month to a bar, and they were all loaded. All loaded.
Well,
Like, if you are not spiritually fit, you should not be entering a bar. It's the book says very specifically, if we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things alcoholics are not supposed to do. If you have not completed this course of action and you are not in your daily reprieve, doing your 10, 11, and 12, you shouldn't be stepping foot anywhere. You can still go for dinner with your friends, but you really are on rocky grounds. Rocky grounds.
thank you.
And,
Yeah,
and I'm blunt, right? I'm like, the book says I must be spiritually fit, and the book says it on page 100. So if you're in the first 2 chapters of the book, you got no business anywhere.
Yep.
No.
Okay,
That's like dating too. People are like, oh, dating. I'm like, if you haven't gotten to page 71 in the book, you shouldn't be dating a soul. Page
Right.
71 is where they tell you how to pick your partner, right? So if you're on page 22, 33, 44, you got no business.
Right.
We can use
That
the
makes
book as a guide, right? Because my thing is, show me that in the book. Well, the book on page 100 says, assuming I'm spiritually fit, I can go anywhere. So if you aren't on page 100, you got no business.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Thank you.
we know where they are when they want to go to the bar.
Yep.
First little portion of the book.
Thank
Leslie. We can't be afraid of offending people either. We can't be afraid of offending people. If you can back it up in the book, don't be afraid to say it. Sorry,
Hi,
Leslie.
Leslie Alcoholic. I've been in the program sober. It was September was my second year birthday. And in the beginning, I'm living with an active drinker, an alcoholic. And so in the beginning, this was extremely difficult. And I would go to meetings and I'm trying to figure shit out in my head. It's not going anywhere. They're saying, how could you live like that? And I would have left long ago, blah, 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 blah. So, sometimes it's kind of nice to just sit in a quiet space and just visit with God. We put ourselves in God's hands and in His plan for our life. I can now go. I've got alcohol in the house. Well, I don't have it right now, praise God, because my husband's decided he's going to quit drinking. My daughter's wedding was in September. I bought the wine. I had no problem going up to the winery. I never tasted any of it. God knows I've had it all before. But in at the ceremony, the wedding, when I had to give a speech, I read September 12th from the Daily Reflection. And to me, I'm leading by example. And that's what this whole program is about. And if you feel that you are not strong and spiritually fit, don't go there. People used to go out in twos for strength, my mom talks about doing a 12-step call. They did it in twos. So you gain the strength from one another. You don't go into a den of iniquity and just say, yeah, hey, it's like a diabetic walking into a candy store. So I don't have a problem as long as I maintain that spiritual fitness. And for anybody who is worried about going to a place where there is going to be drinking, you bring your own. You bring your sparkling water. You think all those models that are tipping the glasses and stuff like that they're drinking champagne, they got to maintain their 90 pounds. They're drinking sparkling water with no calories in it. So you could do the same and be a part of it and be an example. Somebody might need a ride home and they might need a sober driver. So, and I mean, you'll hear the stories next day. Oh my God, everybody was loaded at that party. Hey, you were loaded too. No, I was the only sober one there. So just stay. That's what I'm maintaining now. I served wine at the Christmas dinner. My father-in-law bought it, poured out 2 glasses. I had sparkling water, no problem. But I didn't get there overnight, and I don't have that mind. I'm not thinking 24/7 about alcohol. That's why I ordered that recovered hoodie. That's all I got to say. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And depending on where you live right now, too, there's a big movement for non-alcoholic drinks. Most restaurants and bars now have a featured menu of non-alcoholic drinks. It's a little bit on trend in certain communities, so it's easy to find it. When I would do corporate events, I would go up to the bar. It was funny. My first corporate event, sober, was at 18 Months Sober, and it was down in Sacramento. And I was in line, and it was open bar, and I walked up, and I just kind of said, do you have Perrier or sparkling water? And I heard a voice behind me say, how long have you been sober? And I just about died. And I turned around and it was the vice president of sales. And I said, 18 months? And he's like, I've got 7 years. And then from that point on, in our company emails, anytime him and I interacted, he would tag, GFT, just for today. And it was our little secret. And it was just because I went up and I'd asked the bartender to keep Perrier on stock for me at this corporate event. Turns out the vice president of sales was also sober. So it's just amazing how we can do these things. In our belief, any scheme of combating alcohol which proposes to shield the sick man from temptation is doomed to failure. If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but he usually winds up with a bigger explosion than ever. We have tried these methods. These attempts to do the impossible have always failed. Note the word always. It doesn't say sometimes, it doesn't say maybe, it doesn't say once in a while. It says it always fails. If you shield yourself from alcohol or try to avoid temptation, you are doomed. The book previously tells us that we are neither cocky nor afraid. Those are two big red flags. If I'm at a meeting and I hear people at the podium and they're sharing about being afraid of going places or how they can go anywhere because they got this, that's a very, very scary place to be. If you're afraid of alcohol or if you're overconfident about it. Myself, I have a daily reprieve. I maintain my spiritual condition so I can go where free men goes. That sounds a lot different than I'm good, I got this. You see all the service work I do? I'm so good, I can go anywhere. There's a big difference in the attitude, right? I am very aware that I have a daily reprieve based on my spiritual fitness. So what do? I work my damn ass off to maintain that spiritual fitness. I consult with my 10-step buddies. I have my sponsor who calls me out on my shit. Right? I have an appointment this week to go over my past 30 days inventory. What's been cropping up for you in your 10s, Kimberly? What's been going on? Right? I've had a really busy December. I'm going into a huge service position. I need to make sure I am on check and have someone that is not me, with a clear, fresh of eyes to see, yeah, okay, what about this? What about that? And sometimes she says, well, what about this? And we're able to have a constructive conversation where I can say, no, I don't think that's a problem. And then she says, well, and we're able to look at both sides and see where we are. It's very important. So our rule is not to avoid a place where there is drinking if we have a legitimate reason for being there. That includes bars, nightclubs, dances, receptions, weddings, even plain ordinary whoopee parties. To a person who has had experience with an alcoholic, this may seem like tempting providence, but it isn't. You will note that we made an important qualification. Therefore, ask yourself on each occasion, have I any good social, business, or personal reason for going to this place? Or am I expecting to steal a little vicarious pleasure from the atmosphere of such places? If you answer these questions satisfactorily, you need to have no apprehension. Go or stay away, whichever seems best. But be sure you are on solid spiritual ground before you start and that your motive in going is thoroughly good. Do not think of what you will get out of the occasion. Think of what you can bring to it. But if you are shaky, you had better work with another alcoholic instead. Why? Why would you work with another alcoholic? Because on page 1 of this chapter, it tells us that gives us immunity. If I'm on shaky ground, does it say call your sponsor? If I'm on shaky ground, does it say call 10 friends and go to a meeting? No, it says work with another alcoholic. That is where we get our immunity from. It also says here we have to have a good reason for going. Am I looking to steal some vicarious pleasure out of this? So let's look at some examples. So if I break up with a boyfriend, and I'm feeling kind of low, so I'm going to go out dancing. I'm going to wear my mini skirt. I'm going to wear my low-cut top. I'm going out dancing. What's my motive? My motive is to get attention. My motive is to make myself feel attractive and wanted and validated. It's a lot different than when my friend Rochelle calls up and says, we're all going to celebrities to celebrate Pride. I have a lot of friends who are LGBTQ, and I like to support them. I'm going there to support them and to have fun and celebrating this weekend with them. My motives are good. My girlfriend's wedding. Am I going there out of spite? Or am I going there because I want to wish them well for their happy, joyous occasion? Right? We have to look at our motives in going. If my motives in going are good and pure, I'm fine, as long as I'm spiritually fit. If I'm trying to gain some vicarious pleasure by going to the strip club and reliving my old days of glory, I'm probably on shaky ground, and I should probably work with another alcoholic instead. I don't see any hands going up, so I'll keep reading. Why sit with a long face in places where there is drinking, sighing about the good old days? If it is a happy occasion, try to increase the pleasure of those there. If a business occasion, go and attend to your business enthusiastically. If you are with a person who wants to eat in a bar, by all means go along. Let your friends know they are not to change their habits on your account. At a proper time and place, explain to your friends why alcohol disagrees with you. If you do this thoroughly, few people will ask you to drink. While you were drinking, you were withdrawing from life little by little. Now you are getting back into the social life of this world. Don't start to withdraw again just because your friends drink liquor. I don't hang out with my drinking friends as much anymore. Like I said earlier, we just don't have much in common. But those that I do still see, some of them have matured. Some of them have, settled down with families, and they're not reliving their old days any longer. And when they ask me, how come you don't drink? How did you know? I like to use the Lay's commercial. Bet you can't drink just one. Same as the chips, right? Bet you can't eat just one chip. I can't. If I have one, it sets off a reaction and I can't stop or control how much I drink. And that's a problem for me. And I have friends that have come to me and said, how did you know it was a problem? How did you stop? Right? So it's how we lead, how we present ourselves. Your job now is to be at the place where you may be of maximum helpfulness to others. So never hesitate to go anywhere you can be helpful. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. Keep on the firing line of life with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. I am on the firing line of alcoholism. I'm on the front line. My sponsor says that to me all the time. She says, I don't call you. She doesn't check up on me as often as she does some other people because she knows I'm on the front lines. And as a result, God is keeping me unharmed. If she sees me not doing the service work that I normally do, she's probably going to call me a little more often. But she knows that I am being of maximum service to this fellowship and to my fellows. So she kind of gives me a little bit of a break. If I have a life event, she watches me a little closer, especially my Facebook posts. We can tell a lot about somebody how they're doing by their Facebook posts. I typically check up on some of my sponsees when I see that their Facebook posts are getting a little bit questionable, and I'm like, hey, what's going on with you? I have one girl, and she's a dater, and she's had, I think, 3 different relationships this year, and I always know it's come to an end based on her Facebook posts. Many of us keep liquor in our homes. We often need it to carry green recruits through severe hangover. Some of us still serve it to our friends, provided they are not alcoholic. But some of us think we should not serve liquor to anyone. We never argue this question. We feel that each family, in light of their own circumstances, ought to decide for themselves. And as we've heard here in this meeting today, Leslie did serve wine at her Christmas dinner. Anne Marie does not have it in her house. I allow my daughter to bring it with her. She takes her leftovers when she leaves. Each person can decide how they want to handle that. Myself, I'm not going to keep alcohol in my home. It's not on brand for me. It's not because I'm scared. It's not the thing I want to perceive. But if my daughter comes for dinner, she brings her own. She takes it when she leaves. It's to each their own. Marianne.
Yeah, so this serve it to our friends provided they are not alcoholic. That one's a tough one. As I said, I'm kind of saving a seat for my boy. And, over Christmas, like, he brought his own. I mean, I didn't buy it for him, but he was hitting it all day Christmas. And so I found it really tough because I want to be with my son. And he didn't get drunk. Like, he's a functioning alky if he's that now. I don't know. But, it's hard for me. That I need a lot of support with that one because I don't like to see what I'm seeing, but I'm coming from it from an alcoholic's point of view. I don't know what a heavy drinker does, right? So there are heavy drinkers that aren't alcoholics. So that one is tough. I mean, definitely that's my only kind of challenge with this one is just knowing when to say no. And I think really the best thing I can do is just be an example of how a program works when, he may get to a bottom if he does. As I said, there are heavy drinkers that aren't alcoholics. So
yeah, for me, I can only speak of my personal experience. And I mean, with all of my kids, I'm open about my alcoholism. But with my oldest, her and I have actually had an interesting conversation about the allergy. And so I've actually described the allergy and how it manifests with her. And she's indicated, Mom, I don't have that. But it's funny with Nicholas, who's 13, I always say you guys are predisposed and they know that there's a point in the drinking career where the allergy can be triggered. And so, Summer's never going to try alcohol. She's sworn off already, right? But Nicholas, he says, I'm going to try it out. But he knows, he's even said, I know where to go if I ever trigger that allergy. He's aware. He does indicate that he will never come to any meetings where anyone knows me. Because I've ruined that for him. But I've had that conversation with my kids and explained the allergy and how that you can drink without it for a long time. And then at some point you could trigger that because it's in our genetic makeup. And that's my perception of it. And that's how I've explained it to my kids. I'm like, you maybe can drink non-alcoholically, but at some point you might trigger that allergy. And this is what will happen. For me, I remember I had the allergy the first time I drank. The first time I drank, I had the allergy. I know that looking back, but I also know other alcoholics who drank normally and then triggered it at a later date, right? So, but in talking to my 23-year-old, she does not have the allergy. She can dump half a glass of wine down the sink. I never in my drinking career could do that. So it's just depending on how you want to approach it, right? Maybe he doesn't have the allergy and maybe we just think it's troublesome drinking because of our experience. So it might be something to chat about and see. How I initiated the conversation with my eldest daughter was we were talking about how alcoholism was a disease. And she disagreed. She goes, no, Mom, it's not a disease, it's a choice. And I opened the door to have that conversation about the allergy. I don't know who had their hand up first, but I haven't heard from Jacqueline yet. So Jacqueline, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jacqueline, an alcoholic. On this subject, my daughter came up a couple of weeks ago, and I only see her a couple of times a year, so I know she still drinks. So she asked me, she was just only here from Maryland for 3 days, about 3 days. And she asked me, she said, Mom, can I have, can I get some wine? And I said, of course. I said, we're right here in the area, so I'll take you, to the store. So she went and got her little drinks, and I noticed when she was in the house with me and she brought it out. See, I really had been in touch with like meditating, bringing God into my life in every level. For some reason, it was like what she was doing was sort of invisible to me in the sense that it didn't bring about any cravings or any uncomfortability because my family, when I go to and with her, even if you go, they know that I'm in recovery, I'm recovered and the problem I had with alcohol, that I'm alcoholic. And I have mentioned to them and said that because I like to keep it green, I still remember letting them know that I do keep it green. And I sort of just be very, not intense at all, but I'll just say that I said, I know what happened. I'm okay with you drinking. It's okay. I say, but I know what happens to me. I just want you all to understand. I want you to understand that if I have a drink, what happens to me? I can't just have one. I said, but by all means, I was just open to it, and I just felt very removed. I felt spiritually sound at that time. So that was a good experience, and everything went smooth. So that was just on one occasion, but my family don't really indulge me really on conversations on my recovery or how I'm doing. I don't, because they're removed from that. But that's all I have to share. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. And like you said with your daughter, you're indifferent to it. It's my previous relationship was with a normie. And I remember when we went out for his birthday dinner and he had one single gin and tonic on his birthday. And I was like just stunned, like just looking at him like he was this alien with a single gin and tonic on his birthday. And I was like, do they even sell singles in gin and tonic? Like I thought gin and tonic came standard doubles, like one on your birthday. It's bizarre. And then now my new gentleman friend, he doesn't drink at all, but is completely a normie. And so, but I've had experience with it now, so I don't sit there going, really? That's so weird to me anymore. Joanne, hello.
Hi everyone, I'm Joanne. I'm an alcoholic addict, and there's so much I want to say, and I want to condense it. So, the disease in my head romances alcohol. And part of that might be because I started drinking when I was young, and the front of my house faced the parking lot of a liquor store. So I played with boxes and top bottles and all that, but the pretty boxes with the bows, the top shelf. So at Christmas time, I'm always on my guard a little bit because commercials used to have like the champagne, the woman in the beautiful gown with the champagne and all this stuff. And so I have to be very careful of my fantasies. And there have been times where I don't underestimate what my head does. I had a sponsor who got married, and we had apple cider, sparkling cider, and we had cases of it, and there were some that was left in the apartment. And I remember that night they were gone. I had the bottle. I put it on my night table, and I got a fluted glass, and I was going to pour these, and I was pretending, and I went, holy shit, So I'm very careful about also what my mind does. Like I walk away from people like my age that want to, whether they're alcoholics or non-alcoholics, going down memory lane and talking about certain drugs they did, to go to certain concerts that they did. And the way it's kind of like talking about an ex an ex-lover in all the good things, but you forget that they betrayed you, they were an asshole in the long run. You know, I have to be very careful not to put alcohol in a fancy way for me, because my drinking was never fancy. And when it comes to family, I have daughters in their 20s, and one asked if she could have alcohol in the house. And I know this sounds strange, but we basically said you have to have your own refrigerator and it needs to be not in the living space. But I said, just normal, basic respect. Do not leave your bottles hanging out. You know, as much as it would be, don't leave your glasses of milk hanging out. Just be, you know, clean up after yourself. But so we let that happen. And then one night, and my husband was like, don't be too, relax and everything. And one night we came in and there was a bottle left. And my husband lost it. We told her not to leave her booze around, and he's losing it. And I go over and I turn the bottle to pick it up, and it was ginger beer, non-alcoholic ginger beer. So they're not alcoholics, but we are. And I went to move my daughter's car. She likes to drink kombucha for her gut, which has a kind of a fermented alcohol, and she's left a little bit in her car. And it's like, I got into her car yesterday, and it was like old beer. It was like, I got to talk to her about it. It's just like, if you're going to leave booze around, at least make it not smell gross, But again, it's like, I have to be careful of the sugar. So I don't cut a cake, because I don't want the frosting on my fingers. I don't move other people's booze because I don't want the booze on my skin, because bourbon takes a lot to get off of your skin. So I'm just like, I live my life and I let you live yours, and I don't have to serve your life to you. So if you want your booze, bring your booze, take care of your booze, take home your booze, but I don't have to touch it. I don't, there's no rule that says I have to serve booze to you. No. And that way it's a lot, it keeps it clean for me. It keeps it really clean. So, but it's the most important thing is, I heard this saying, this is what I'll end with. Somebody said, if it's 11 o'clock at night and you're at a party and you think it might be a good idea, it's not. Go home. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I know I've told this story before, probably in the first session, but my girlfriend always throws this ladies' nights pre-COVID, and she invites Olive, and she's a normie. And I go, and she orders me that special sparkling juice that comes in the wine bottle so that I can feel part of. And she pours it into the champagne glass, and I'm not shitting you. The fact that I'm drinking it from a champagne glass messes with my head. And I'm like, are you sure this is non-alcoholic? And she's like, yeah, it's just juice. I'm like, are you sure? And it's just that mental wiggity that we do, where because I'm drinking this sparkling stuff that got poured out of a bottle into a glass that looks like a wine glass, my brain just like does weird things to me. But I literally was like reading the bottle, like, are you sure? Like, did you mix up my drink? So I bring my Perrier and I drink it out of a regular glass because my brain messes with me. All right, Leslie, I talked enough. That the room's clear.
Okay, Leslie, alcoholic still. Kim, I have a question for you. And it was what you were talking about in the beginning of the meeting about when you started drinking at 16, and you had said that a 16-year-old's brain, I just got the like a little bit of it, in your 40-year-old body, you still had the drinking brain or the drugging brain of a 16-year-old, or what did you mean by that?
Yeah, so they say, rumor has it, I don't know if this is backed by science, but it's very apparent in most alcoholics I know, that you stop maturing when you start abusing alcohol and drugs. So I started drinking and abusing alcohol and drugs at 16, so I never matured past a 16-year-old mindset. So when I put down the booze, I still was as immature as a 16-year-old.
So what would you suggest? Now, I've got a daughter who is not an alcoholic. She'll pour wine. She had no problem pouring wine or drinks down the drain. But when it comes to smoking pot, she's a great fan of that. And is that like
Well, there's been studies on pot that it actually inhibits your brain cell growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, any substance you put in is going to chemically alter the conditions of your brain. Mike at our nighttime meetings, really smart. We've talked about him after the meeting till late in the night about stuff like that. But you don't mature when you're adding those substances in. So when I put it down, I was like, I got sober at 38, but I really didn't start this program until 40. So like at 40, I was looking at other 40-year-olds and I was like, I'm not like them. I'm not mature that way. What I found for myself, the traditions is where I got the emotional sobriety and the maturity.
Okay. Yeah, because she was just diagnosed with a brain injury. Only diagnosed, but she had the injury 13 and a half years ago. So I think that would attribute to some of her
developmental stuff. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it would.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.
Super. Jenny D.
Unmute. Hi, thank you. I just want to pop in again that point you just made that Leslie just talked about. I was 13 and I had heard you stop developing at 13 and I thought, well, that's just ridiculous. That doesn't happen. Except that I was 13 in my brain and 40 in my body. And then I found out why. I was explained to why it happens. And I think it happens with alcohol. It happens with drugs. It can happen with pot. When we use that stuff as kids that don't drink, when they come up against situations, they learn how to cope. It hurts, but they do. They cope and they learn skills. What did I do? I went, ooh, drink. Okay, that's fine. Now what? So I did not know how to cope with anything or deal with anything because I dragged it all away. And when I got here, I had to learn. Ron, my husband, used to always say, what the fuck was it? He used to always say, I had to grow up when I came here. And that's it. I had to do at 40 what most people are doing in their teens, and that was grow up. That was it.
Fantastic. Yeah, and that's that emotional sobriety, right? Like we learn things like how to properly interact with other women and have proper respectful relationships with other women. Girl code. I didn't know girl code because all I know was Kim's code. What was good for me was good for me, and so I did whatever the heck I wanted. I didn't understand that there's some moral codes to being a girl, and how to treat other people with that mutual respect. And, even like so much as paying bills on time, right? Like I like to share this coming March will be 2 years. I've had the same auto insurance plan coming out of the same bank account with the same address. Apparently that's normal, but for an alcoholic, I'm like, that's a big deal. I'm like, gold star for me. Like, whack-a-doodle. Diane, I'm going to get you in just a sec. We're at 12:02. I'm just going to finish these last 3 paragraphs and then we'll close out. We are careful never to show intolerance or hatred of drinking as an institution. Experience shows that such an attitude is not helpful to anyone. Every new alcoholic looks for the spirit amongst us and is immensely relieved when he finds we are not witch burners. A spirit of intolerance might repel alcoholics whose lives could be saved. had it not been for such stupidity. We would not even do the cause of a temperate drinker any good, for not one drinker in 1,000 likes to be told anything about alcohol by someone who hates it. Someday we hope that Alcoholics Anonymous will help the public to a better realization of the gravity of the alcoholic problem, but we shall be of little use if our attitude is one of bitterness or hostility. Drinkers will not stand for it. After all, our problems were of our own making. Bottles were only a symbol. Besides, we have stopped fighting anybody or anything. We have to. So, if I'm out there and I'm an intolerant person that's like, you can't drink about me, drinking is bad, look at you drinking, how attractive is that? It's not. I loved drinking. Alcohol was my best friend. I loved wine. Wine didn't love me back. I had a problem with drinking. You may not, and that's okay. But I also talk openly about my alcoholism in case that heavy or moderate drinker one day crosses the rainbow bridge into the allergy and joins us in alcoholism. I don't want them to be like, oh, wow, that Kim, she hates alcohol. Look at her. She's little Miss Friday and she just hates booze. No. I loved alcohol. Problem is, it didn't love me back. And it caused a lot of problems in my life because I'm an alcoholic. And so, we have to walk that fine line. Diane?
Thank you very much. The thing that resonated with me so much is I started drinking at 13, and granted, it was only at social events. Because I was a good student, nobody really noticed. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I know I stopped in many ways. I don't think it's like across the board you stop maturing, but for me, it was always fear. Fear. And whenever I got into a little bit of a jam, my very competent mom and dad would get me out of it. But then you develop more sense of, oh God, I'm not you're so grateful to have your problem fixed, but then you feel like even less competent. So I guess I once saw something I thought was extraordinarily useful. It was about the enabler. There's a person, the alcoholic, and then the enabler helps them fix their problems and, maybe gives them money, whatever. And then the person that's being enabled, the alcoholic me, I never resented my parents, but you start resenting the enablers because then you're not growing. You're just like this little tiny fearful thing in an ever-aging adult body, And I don't think it's just alcoholics that don't mature. Some people just never. I think many people are. Just to be honest, many people out there are just not self-centered. But I know that's one of my big issues. It's like I'm so angry that I never got to be the adult. And even when I could have had children, it's like, oh, they'll be mad at me. I'm just like a kid. The whole time I was just a 13-year-old at much of my life, and much of it I wasn't. But that's such an important issue. And so I'm really glad it was brought out. And no, I don't mind no alcohol in my house except beer because I don't understand beer. But never allowed in my house because I'll drink it if it's there. I had a love-hate relationship, obviously, and mostly hate at this point. But I do crave it sometimes, and I was like, no, I'm going to go to the 164, and I'm just going to not drink today. But I'm grateful, and I just want to bring out that thing about having to deal with playing catch-up and understanding and going through the 12 steps. I'm working on it. And I'm so grateful. Thank you. All of you people. I can't thank you enough. You keep me sober one day. That's all I want to say.
Thank you so much, Diane. And yeah, you bring out a good point that carries off of Jenny D's point, right? Is that we dealt with our problems by drinking, but we also dealt with our problems with fear and ego. So we got these bad habits of how we dealt with things, which kind of helped us, down that pain of misery or the path of misery, because our conduct was proportionately related to our fears. Marianne.
Well, I was told that that my kind of maturity stopped when I first picked up, and I went, oh no, that means. I was 12 when I first started drinking alcoholically, and they said, fear not, you do this program, it's not going to take you as long to grow up as it would normally if you had not been an alcoholic. Because I thought that was just another huge mountain to climb. So that's why I keep doing this program every day, so I grow up, and it's not taking as long as it used to.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Getting there. I'll tell you though, those traditions, it was just like woo, like the emotional sobriety that comes from those traditions. It was a big eye opener. Like I was giddy. I was like, oh my God, these traditions are amazing. And like, the person that I was talking to was like, yeah, I know. All right, let's close her out with the Serenity Prayer and decide what we're going to do.